What is the fastest sports sedan that you can buy for under 8 grand? A lot of people would say it's not even possible. It's true, you can buy a 365 horsepower all-wheel drive sedan for under 8 grand that can embarrass modern day sports cars.
Meet the Ford Taurus SHO. Same Taurus most people think of as a rental car or a police cruiser, except this one has a twin-turbo EcoBoost V6, all-wheel drive, and nearly 400 pound-feet of torque. Today we're going to find out if this is actually one of the best performance bargains under 8 grand, or if there's a reason they've gotten so cheap. We're going to drive it, launch it, test the interior, talk reliability, ownership costs, and decide whether you should buy one of these in 2026.
One thing I absolutely love about cars is the stories that you make in them and the memories that you had. I will never forget being a kid, knowing my neighbor Tom got to experience a Ford Taurus SHO with his dad. And of course, this wasn't his dad's car. It was his dad's boss's car because only the boss could afford an SHO. And I will never forget how jealous I was that he got to experience that Yamaha engine, over 200 horsepower, the same performance that you could find in a Ferrari or a Porsche of the time with 0 to 60 in top speed times. The incredible car that the SHO used to be. Hello everyone and welcome to Performance on Wheels. My name is Todd. My son Austin and I, we love making all sorts of videos on all sorts of different cars. You guys love our videos as well. You show us by liking and commenting on them, but there's still 95% of you that don't hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button and let's get after it. We'll get into the 6th generation SHO in just a second, but I have to continue my rant because it is so true. There was a point in time when the pocket protecting wearing dads driving the SHO, cramming gears in their 5-speed and their high revving Yamaha V6 and embarrassing Porsche owners, there was a time when the SHO was something truly special and truly unique. And it's just a pity and shame that the SHO name has gotten away from that. So yes, this vehicle is still a sleeper, and that's what we'll unpack today.
The real question of today's video is, does the SHO nameplate of this generation Taurus still carry that special aspect that it once did in Ford's history? Today, we're going to truly dive into this vehicle, and let's start off that dive with the exterior design that they did on this thing. This is really bubbly. This whole generation of Taurus, this looks like a big bubble. The whole front end of it is nothing special, and I just have a hard time with the whole exterior of this car looking sporty. I don't see it.
It's funny, Austin, as you say bubbly, the 1st generation Taurus was actually nicknamed the Jelly Bean. A little symbolism there. Maybe they stayed true to how the car was actually designed.
I'm not sure.
When you look at this, there is nothing special about the Taurus.
No.
Knowing that this is the top tier, the special, the elegant Taurus that was sporty, look at the front of it and you really can't tell the difference from any of the other trim lineups.
Here, I mean, just to put this into perspective, when we started the video today, we had to double check this was even an SHO. We thought this was a base model or something. That's just how lame it truly looks.
You're right, we both had the discussion. We didn't know if the SHO on the glove box was put on there. We actually went to the VIN and looked at the 8th digit, and it was indeed a T there, so we knew that there was a 3.5 with a twin turbo under the hood, which, fun fact, some of the police interceptors did come with the 3.5, but not many with the Turbskis there. Anyways, like, this car is not special from an aesthetic standpoint.
It is not.
So you can say that's a negative, but you could also say that's a positive, knowing that you have a sleeper on your hands.
It is 100% a sleeper, because I think we need to pop the hood to talk about what truly makes this a special vehicle for being under 8 grand right now. Under here we have the 3.5 liter twin turbo EcoBoost that can be found across a variety of different Ford products, making 365 horsepower, 350 or so pound-feet of torque. They do have a few issues, which we're going to talk about in a minute, but what's the big headline title here is it's all-wheel drive, twin turbo. Those numbers were pretty decent, approaching 400 horsepower.
Yeah.
And with nothing more than a couple of turbos, some meth, a tune, intake, exhaust. Talking about a 10-second car here.
You can get really wild, but what's cool just the way it sits is you think the 0 to 60 time of 5 seconds or 5.1, 5.2 isn't crazy fast, and it's not. But the all-wheel drive system makes that an actual achievable 0 to 60 time.
Like,
so this is the ultimate
time after time
after time. The stoplight warrior. This will embarrass a lot of your, your 4-cylinder Mustangs or just different cars that are kind of in that sporty era.
You're saying 4-cylinder Mustangs, heck, V8 Mustangs even, because it can put the power down consecutively. But we do need to talk about why these are so cheap to begin with, and that's because they do take some effort to keep making those 5-second 0 to 60s with potential timing chains that can stretch, an internal water pump that can fail, as well as some turbo oil supply line issues, which end up leading to turbo issues. So if you stay on top of your maintenance, these can be a lot of fun, but you do have to be mechanically inclined or be willing to fork over a lot of money to a local mechanic, because they can be labor intensive to keep running down the road.
Yeah, essentially if you don't proactively replace that internal water pump that can explode or grenade inside of your motor, mixing the coolant with the oil, and goodbye motor essentially. So catch it leaking or proactively change it. And because it's internal, it is labor intensive and an expensive repair. So that might be why some of these vehicles are a little bit cheaper on the market.
However, that makes it so appealing. The reason that they're cheap is because these repairs might need to be done in the near future, but that makes them an incredible platform to build a 10-second car on a very cheap initial purchase. I mean, you got all the bones that you need here to start building a 10-second car, and just put basic bolt-ons on the engine after you take it out to already do the basic maintenance. That's pretty cool.
I mentioned earlier that there's a lot of parts that are shared between the Explorer as well as the SHO, because essentially it's the exact same motor. Some of the brakes, just depending on the model year, transfer right over. It is the same transmission that is found in the SHO that is found in the Taurus, a little bit beefier 6-speed. The other thing that's interesting, or at least something to keep an eye on, is the power takeoff unit. So where the all-wheel drive's kicking in, that's really close to the exhaust system. And another thing to be aware of is if that fluid isn't changed on a regular basis, or at least you're keeping an eye on it, that can turn into sludge because of that heat, and then you might have a grenading all-wheel drive system.
All right, we've talked enough about the capabilities of this engine, the issues of this engine. Let's go experience this engine by taking it out for a drive. First initial thoughts behind the wheel of the Taurus SHO is this is not a small car in any way, not in the corners, not behind the wheel. In no way, shape, or form does this feel like a nimble performance car at all. It's a big, boaty monster, and it does not feel like it wants to take any corners. It just feels like you're making it take a corner, because it does not want to, though. And I do even believe that the SHO had a specialty multi-link rear suspension in it, but even then, doesn't feel like it's doing a whole lot, at least not in this 156,000 mile example. It's really stiff while having absolutely zero handling to back how stiff it is. And the dashboard in the interior is so big, combined with that it feels like you're driving a bus. It's just big, wide, and boaty. But what's truly special about this thing is when you put your foot down, absolutely zero tire spin, 50, 55, 60, 65. This thing moves. It really does. It gets out of the hole with absolutely zero wheel spin, and it feels like it has power all the way throughout the power band because it has max torque at just 1,500 RPM. The transmission is relatively quick. The throttle is actually pretty engaging, which makes it a fun, enjoyable car to put your foot down and accelerate at some stoplights. So it is fun to drive in that sense. But don't think that when you're going in to buy one of these that you're ever going to make it perform very well in the corners unless you somehow manage to shave off at least 1,000 pounds. I mean, hey, for $8,000, that was a pretty fun little rip there, and it was quite enjoyable to be behind the wheel of. What was it like to just experience the interior while we went for that drive?
The interior is interesting because this one is 15 years old, but you can also get a Taurus SHO that looks similar-ish. That's only, let's say, 7 years old, a 2019 model year, if I'm remembering correctly. So that one's a lot more modern. This doesn't really feel super dated, though. I was actually kind of impressed getting into this 2011. This is the fairly nice place to be. I actually kind of like the gauges, and I don't mind the dashboard layout. The seats do have a little bit of bolstering with that Alcantara or whatever material suede-ish stuff is in the insert. So the seats are comfortable. There's a little bit of bolstering there to hold you in place. So all in all, I don't mind the interior for being a Taurus at the end of the day.
There are a few things in here that I find to be a little bit interesting. The paddle shifters, for example. I mean, whoever thought from Ford that this was going to be good, proper hand placement to use your paddle shifters during aggressive driving is just crazy to me. This is ridiculous that you even have the option to click these from the front. The overall interior materials are absolutely terrible, like they are for most Fords of this generation, but who the heck cares when we're talking about a car that's under 10 grand at this point, right? It is a comfortable spot. I do agree with you fully, and I don't mind the front seat at all. Very comfortable area. Let's see what the back's all about.
Now, what we have to remember is that this is a 4,300 pound boat. This is a big car. You would expect there to be tons of room in both the front seat and the back seat, and essentially have a lot of comfort, or at least be sporty tuned. And I don't know if you've spent any time in the back of a police interceptor, but the back seats are not that comfortable in the SHO, in my opinion. First off, the sitting position is way too high. The center arm rest is way too low, and you have this absolutely massive headrest blocking your view of anything. I mean, you feel like you have a police cage back here, and it's simply only the headrest that's in front of you. So the back seat, in my opinion, is a little bit of a disappointment for a vehicle that's this big, this size. I would expect all 4 passengers to be extremely comfortable.
All right, so it may not be the most luxurious feeling interior, but they give you a lot of features that make it feel like it is luxurious. Like even in those kind of crammed back seats, we had heated rear seats. Up front, we had heated and cooled seats. We had ambient lighting, which really wasn't much of a thing at all in this generation of any car. In addition to that, there's memory seats, and was there anything else I'm missing?
Yeah, there's power pedals, there's a USB, there's dual zone climate control, there's even a backup camera that's kind of obnoxious sitting right there, and I think you see it up in the rear view if I remember correctly. Right?
You do,
yeah.
But on the newer versions, you could get a sync screen or a sync system in the center of all of the dashboards, and that really helped out with the backup camera and some of the radio.
Yeah, but you don't want any of that fancy stuff. If you're going for a sleeper, you want a 2010, 2011 because it's going to be cheaper, and you're just going after the power, baby. So
you are right. However, there is one more thing to think about if we're looking at an older one, and that's where you're purchasing it from. This one is available right now at Apple Autos. However, this one is also available in the Midwest, and we can see these are not aluminum like the newer Fords.
Right, yeah, and that's what's fun about checking out cars in Minnesota, because it gives all of you guys the opportunity to see where some of those weak points are in the car. Like both sides of the rear wheel wells are starting to rust a little bit, and a couple of the doors have some rust bubbling that's starting. So you get to see where those weak points are that maybe didn't get coated appropriately in the factory.
This one does have relatively high miles on it, and outside of the rust points that are starting, there's also some paint flaking over here on one of the top roof rails.
It's been through a few shopping cart incidents,
but other than that, this thing's holding up pretty good. I mean, it's just a few rust things here and there, but you know, what do you do, right?
Polishing of the headlights, you'll be embarrassing Miatas in no time.
Yeah, just maybe not on anything other than a straight line.
There you go.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video today here on the Taurus SHO. Really is a lot of car for $8,000. The question is it where you would put your $8,000 here in 2026? Let us know down in the comments below, because I'm kind of intrigued. It's going to be a really quick sleeper that nobody is buying. We literally just got done filming the video on the Taurus, and I just can't think of a better way of closing it out than just appreciating the wing that's on the one right in front of me right now. That is just pure beauty, ladies and gentlemen. What a well done spoiler.